Hey, what up? We're back at it again.
With the white vans.
With the white vans and the tech news and the game news and
the coronavirus.
And the more How many episodes have we been covering coronavirus? This may be the 5th one.
I think that's what I was going to say.
I'm pretty sure we've been covering it way too much. But it keeps on affecting our news cycle.
As much as we don't want it to.
As much as I want to stop talking about coronavirus, we have to keep on covering it because it's still relevant. Hopefully it will stop being relevant here very soon. Meanwhile, the whole world has already forgotten about the Australian wildfires amidst this coronavirus thing, which is really sad.
It's all a cover-up by the Chinese government.
It is. It's all a cover-up for Trump's impeachment. They're trying to blow that to the wayside. But nonetheless, we are not a political podcast. Nor are we a conspiracy podcast. If you want a good conspiracy podcast, listen to the Crackpot podcast. No relation. It's a good one.
I totally thought you were going to say InfoWars.
Well, in unrelated podcast news, Alex Jones was arrested with DWI.
I heard that this morning, actually.
I was like, oh, DWI. That means he was not only drunk, but he was also something else. That was impairing his drive ability.
Big oof.
Big oof. What a troubled man. What a troubled man. But he kind of dug his own grave with that. But anyways, moving on. Welcome to episode 10 of season 2 of the Let's Talk About It podcast. Just to get things out of the way, we have not figured out the details for our next Chipotle gift card giveaway. No. We have the gift cards. They exist. They're in my car.
They are real.
They have been paid, and people can use them, but we haven't figured out a way to give it away. We're planning on doing another live stream. And by planning, Ruben said, we should do a live stream. And I said, yeah.
that is the extent of our plan.
Hey, but it's better than nothing, right? But it's going to get done. We're going to do a giveaway soon. We may do it through social media, too. I think that may be a good idea.
We gotta change it to where you have to be watching.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I checked our metrics for our Facebook page, and we had 1 engagement this last week on Facebook, which means we posted our episode link on Facebook, and 1 person clicked on it, and that was probably my sister. Shout-outs to you, Ruby. Love you. But anyway, the whole point of giveaways is kind of like to drive traffic, and to have people kind of put the podcast in a place where it's visible. So we may do like a share, we may do like a share thing. We may do, I don't know. We'll discuss that off the podcast for sure. But without further ado, we will jump straight into our news cycles for this week. As always, starting off with the tech news. This last week, more CPU vulnerabilities have been found. For the last couple months, we've been looking at Spectre and Meltdown vulnerabilities for Intel CPUs, which essentially involved memory leaks with Intel CPUs that were actually pretty bad. These are really, really bad vulnerabilities just baked into how the CPU is made, really. That was just to kind of refresh on that, since we haven't really covered it on the podcast because this was something that was discovered before we started the podcast. But basically, Intel chips of certain generations had a vulnerability called Meltdown or Spectre, and what these vulnerabilities essentially allowed was for someone to gain access to the cache of these Intel chips, and actually gain access to AES level encryption keys in the processors. So if you could get into the code of the processors, you could basically decrypt any of the data that was encrypted by that particular chip on a system. So that's a huge vulnerability thing, especially since encryption is so important.
Yeah.
People encrypt things for the sake of never ever having to worry about anyone who is unauthorized to see that data. But if you're just literally handing away encryption keys like the Intel chips could because of these vulnerabilities, that's a bad thing. So, anyways, that's kind of the lowdown on the old Intel chip vulnerabilities. What's going on now is that AMD CPUs, as old as 9 years old, actually are vulnerable to similar data leaks. So that includes old AMD processors to like 2011. So that includes like Athlon Athlon X4 processors, which I had that processor. My parents bought a computer from Best Buy with that processor, and it was a pain in the ass. And that's actually what got me into fixing computers and building computers, because I had to constantly fix and upgrade that damn HP. And that's why I'm an advocate against anything and all hardware HP. Fun fact. But anyway, that old processor, Athlon 64X2s, 64X4s, all the way up to the most recent Ryzen 3rd Gen and Threadripper processors. Each of these CPUs are actually vulnerable to a similar side channel attacks, which was what the Meltdown or Spectre vulnerabilities in these Intel chips were. But basically, the way that it works for these Ryzen chips is that the level 1 cache, specifically in these Ryzen chips, which are microprocessor architecture, is an interesting thing, and I won't go into details about that for the sake of simplicity. But there are multiple levels of cache in a processor that kind of stores data for the processor to kind of sit on until it's ready to punch that information through the cores. There's level 1 cache, level 2 cache, level 3 cache. And the level 1 cache of these processors, they're actually susceptible to memory leaks. So data will actually escape the cache randomly, and enough of that information is enough to kind of put together some information to gain access to the system, essentially through the CPU, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Apparently, this memory leak for the Ryzen chips aren't as bad as the Intel chips. Like the Intel chips, hemorrhage information.
Jeez.
And the Intel chips, you basically have to be hemorrhaging information because you can get encryption keys that way. That's a lot of data. But it's not as bad with these Ryzen chips, which is a win in the AMD camp for AMD fans out there like myself. But still, it's pretty bad that such a vulnerability exists for the AMD chips. Apparently, this is something that can be patched with a rather unfortunate and complicated combination of software and hardware patches. So we're kind of expecting this to kind of be fixed for the next Ryzen 4000 series. Mm-hmm. But as far as what currently exists, software patches can only go so far. There's people are expecting these patches to be solved, but so far there's no official fix or announcement to when this is going to be at least partially patched officially from AMD. So we kind of have to wait and see how AMD does when they chew on that per se. But I promise that's my only AMD story this week. I'm not drooling over it as I usually do. The next tech story that we have to cover is something that's not as exciting. Well, actually, I take that back. CPU stories are always very boring. But this next story here is something that is probably equally as boring, only because we've seen so much of this already, and this is kind of something that has leaked slowly over the past couple of months, and only now are we getting extra details as to what exactly these leaks mean. And what I'm talking about specifically is actually the latest leak on the Pixel 4a. About yesterday, so I believe the 10th of March of 2010, a Cuban phone store, of all places, a Cuban phone store, uploaded a review video of what is purported to be a Pixel 4a. weird.
That is weird.
Yeah, like why would Cuba, of all places, get a Pixel 4a in early March when historically, the Pixel 3a was released in May of 2019 for Google's I/O conference. But anyway, apparently, so this Cuban phone store got a hold of a Pixel 4a somehow. They showed it off in a video on YouTube. They just straight up posted a review video on YouTube of the Pixel 4a. It did show off a couple features that people were hoping to see in the Pixel 4a, such as a physical headphone jack, a 3.5 headphone jack. There is a physical fingerprint scanner on the back of the phone, which it does not exist on the Pixel 4. Weird. Every time I think of that.
The Pixel 4 was just face recognition, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There's not even an in-screen fingerprint scanner on the Pixel 4.
Yeah, I want to say that was one of the things I disliked about it.
That was one. I saw that and I immediately said that's not gonna work out. So that's why I wasn't drilling over the Pixel 4. But so that exists on the Pixel 4a according to this video, right? That's again one of the rumored features that we were expecting for a while. And so that was really nice to see. The screen itself has a hole punch selfie camera on the top left, which it doesn't look bad, but because it's a regular size Pixel 4a and not a Pixel 4a XL, which we have heard no leaks about, so I'm personally not expecting a Pixel 4a XL. Just because we haven't seen any leaks on that yet, and I'm sure we would have at this point if it was going to be a thing. But this regular size Pixel 4a does have a hole punch front selfie camera. It also has a square camera bump on the back, a lot like the Pixel 4's square camera bump. It's not as big because it doesn't house as many sensors, but it's there. Over the course of this Cuban YouTube video, they kind of show off the specs. They have an app that shows you the specs of the phone. And apparently this Pixel 4a comes with 6 gigabytes of RAM. It has a Snapdragon 730 processor, not the 730G, which is the G stands for gaming. So it has a higher clock GPU in that one. No, not that one. Just the regular Snapdragon 730. And because it's just the regular Snapdragon 730, it's not expected to have 5G support, which makes sense because it's the mid-range Pixel, right? It also comes with a 3080 milliamp hour battery, which it's not the best battery, but it is a slight increase from the Pixel 3a from last year, which I believe only had a 3000 milliamp hour battery. And if I remember correctly, I think it was the Pixel 3, not non-XL version. I think that one only came with like a 2790 milliamp hour battery.
Ugh.
Yeah, times have changed. Times are changing. We need bigger batteries. But besides that, this video also shows off the Pixel 4a's kind of build quality. It's not the two-tone glass and metal thing that we're used to seeing on Pixel phones. It's just one straight plastic body. The bezels are relatively thin. If you just look up Pixel 4a leak, you'll see what I mean when he's playing around with the screen. Also, the screen is not the rumored 90 hertz screen. It is just a 60 hertz screen, which is standard for most mid-range devices. Only recently has it become a trend for smartphones to have a 90 hertz screen or 120 hertz screen, for smooth transitions and things like that. But so that's what we know so far on the phone. I'm pretty sure I already mentioned the RAM and the phone. It's 6 gigabytes of RAM. Apparently, the storage on the phone that was showed off in the video was only 64 gigabytes of storage on the phone. We haven't heard any leaks about a 128 gigabyte storage version of the Pixel 4a, but I expect that to kind of show up. Yeah. Or at least I hope so, because my phone right now, my Note 9 is 128 gigs of storage, and I think right now I have like 60 gigabytes of used storage, maybe. So switching over to a 64 gigabyte would be a tight squeeze for me personally, and the data that I store on my phone. But that was mainly all that was shown by this weird Cuban video. One thing that I do want to point out here on the video is that none of the logos that are printed on the back of the Pixel 4a are like Google logos.
Really?
They're like it's like other logos on there. It's really weird.
That is weird.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a leak. It's a freaking early leak.
Yeah.
So I would not be surprised if this was fake. But at the same time, the specs that are listed and what's showed off in the video pretty much falls in line with what was rumored for the Pixel 4a. According to Evan Bloss, I don't know if it's Ivan or whatever, but Evan Bloss on Twitter, he's a notorious smartphone leaker. I don't know where that dude gets his information, but he gets it right all the time. According to his information on the Pixel 4a, it's rumored to start at $399. For the base model, which is what the Pixel 3a started at last year. So that's kind of expected. We'll wait and see. It was really cute because Evan Bloss did a Photoshop mock-up billboard for the Pixel 4a, announcing Pixel 4a at $399. Yeah, so he got real cutesy with this one because usually he just posts some really some really short and sweet Twitter post on the leaks that he gets where he's like, Pixel 4a, $399. Let's go. That's who he is. That's who he is. I'm reporting on this phone because it's something that I am personally really looking forward to. I would love to get my hands on a Pixel 4a, only because I really miss my Pixel 2 XL. Switching to the Note 9 isn't something I regret, but I definitely appreciate Pixel features more than when I had the Pixel on hand. Yeah. The camera specifically, oh my gosh, the camera on the Pixel is so fast. It's so fast, and it takes such good photos. The Note 9 takes forever. It really does take forever. And there's been I never use my camera. I almost never use my camera. And so, because I almost never use my camera, I knew that the Note 9 camera was not as robust as the Pixel 2 XL camera. But my logic was, you know what? I never use my camera. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. But now that I'm in that situation, the logic has changed to, oh my gosh, I never use my camera. And when I use it, it's super important. So I need to have a good camera. But I guess that's life there for you. Again, we still have to wait for Google's I/O conference, which was, I think it was postponed or something like that because, again, coronavirus. But it was canceled. Google I/O was canceled because of coronavirus. So when exactly we'll see an announcement of the Pixel 4a, I don't know. All I know is that I'm going to be super excited to pre-order the Pixel 4a when it comes out. So we'll see there. I'm trying to see. Oh yes, a couple specs that I missed here on the Pixel 4a before we move on. It's supposed to be a 5.8 inch display with a 2340 by 1080 resolution, so a 1080p display essentially. There's the 6 gigabytes that were shown off in the video. That's confirmed as well. But there's a weird rumor about a 4 gigabyte RAM version existing, maybe in the Latin American countries where they usually get trimmed down versions of the phones just so they're affordable for those markets. We don't know yet because the phone's not out yet. But this is just more speculation, really, at this point. But that's I guess that's pretty much all we have to say for the Pixel 4a until we see it come out here. Next tech story is actually following up on what we heavily criticized and talked about last week's episode for. YouTube now is slowly starting to monetize coronavirus videos following creator anger. So last week we talked a lot about a couple of channels that had their videos demonetized or just straight up didn't say the word coronavirus to get their videos demonetized, right? Yeah. So I guess in between last week and now, enough video creators complained to YouTube about this, and so the YouTube notified creators in one of its creator insider episodes. So like, basically the videos that they push out to their top YouTube people, the people that are creating videos for YouTube, any videos that are created by these people mentioning coronavirus would be demonetized. Like, they just straight up said it would be demonetized, and it would be automatic demonetization too. So like the AI would see that it's in your video and boop, demonetized.
That's dumb.
Yeah. So and again, just to reiterate, last episode we talked about it is because it was a controversial issue, due to loss of life, that YouTube was demonetizing this. But of course, a lot of people complained about that. The YouTube CEO Susan, I can't pronounce that. Wojcicki. Wojcicki. I'm just gonna go with that. Susan Wojcicki. I know that's wrong, but that's what I'm sticking with. I'm sticking to my guns. She actually issued a letter today, March 11th, to creators addressing the coronavirus, coverage and kind of talking about it for that. She specifically mentioned that creators like Philip DeFranco, who's like one of the daily news guys on YouTube, he's constantly covering the coronavirus and what it's doing, right? She specifically called out him because he went on Twitter and kind of joked about the demonetization policy, and so that's why she responded, basically in response to his tweet.
Well, I mean, he's like one of the OGs of YouTube. Like,
and he's constantly creating content, and he covers a lot of controversial content too.
Like, I mean, I'm not a big fan of his, but I mean, he's been around a long time.
yeah, for sure. He recently put out a video that I saw, and it showed him like in the beginning of his YouTube career. I was like, dang, that dude, he's been around the block for a couple times for sure. Basically, Susan, the CEO of YouTube, basically explained that the policy behind the demonetization was designed to apply to short-term events, of significant magnitude, like natural disaster, like coronavirus, which by the way, today was just declared a pandemic of global proportions by the World Health Organization, which I think it sounds worse than it actually is, but still, that's it takes a lot of work for a disease to be called a pandemic, right? And so she also, the YouTube CEO also said in that same statement that, quote, "In the days ahead, we will enable ads for content discussing the coronavirus on a limited number of channels, including creators who accurately self-certify and a range of news partners," is what she said. "We're preparing our policies and enforcement processes to expand monetization to more creators and news organizations in the coming weeks." So definitely a step forward for YouTube. I'm honestly surprised that this has been put into place so quickly. Yeah. A week in the YouTube world is not a lot of time, especially with running YouTube and making policies and things like that. Just drafting up a policy, submitting it for approval, getting it denied, redrafting it, getting it approved, that process takes a long time for anything. So the fact that YouTube's on this is really good news. My only concern is just how fast that's going to happen, because how long does it have to take before it's okay for any video to talk about coronavirus?
Yeah.
Right? And especially for in my case, because the majority of the content that I consume on YouTube is all tech news, and the coronavirus is absolutely affecting the tech news right now. It's affecting the tech industry, the manufacturing of circuit boards, microprocessors, just regular electronics as a whole. All that's done in Asian countries that are heavily influenced by this global pandemic now. And I can say that because the World Health Organization, right? But, of course, it's just a matter of if and when this happens. But at least for now, it's getting pushed in the right direction. And so we just kind of have to hold our breath to see how that happens, because these YouTube content creators are working hard. and we consume their content for free, essentially, with with ads and things like that, and we want to support these content creators. So we will wait and see what happens there. Woo, excuse me, I'm so tired. I just let out a nasty yawn. But anyway, just one more story here. Just a quick little story about iOS 14, actually, which is I have to bring up the article here again. But of course, iOS, I think, is it 14 or is it 13? I'm pretty sure it may be 13 because I don't know how to start. I don't know how to count. But anyway. There's a leak on iOS 14 that outlines a couple of the software features that developers are working on for iOS 14. So all of you Apple heads that say I'm an Apple hater, that's still very much true, but that doesn't mean I won't cover their stories. But basically, from this leaked iOS 14 code that was obtained by Mac Rumors, actually, so a great news source for anything Apple. According to this leaked information, there's actually going to be updated code and improvements to trackpad, mice, and pointer support there for the entire iPad product line. I'm not familiar with the iPad product line, but I'm sure they maybe have like an iPad mini and like an iPad Pro and then iPad Micro. I don't know what the lineup is, but anyway, there's going to be improved trackpad, mice, and pointer support for all of the iPad products there, and so that's good news for people who want to be more productive on their iPads, especially since I know that the latest big iPad release from Apple really focused on them, replace your desktop computer with an iPad, which is not going to happen. Let's be honest. Any hardcore, content creator is not going to just replace their whole $20,000 rendering machine with an iPad. Let's be real. At least, the big studios. I can imagine independent artists doing that, depending on their needs and their production load, but across the board, no way. Not for a long time. There's also going to be a new home screen and app management reshuffle in there. There's going to be a new list view for apps on iOS. So a lot like Android is, where you can pull up, a shader window style of menu just to view all your apps and scroll through that. That apparently is going to be part of the new iOS 14 update. So checkmate, Apple. Android wins.
They're still gonna try and say it's an all original idea that's never been done before.
Oh yeah. We've thought about this for decades in the making. We want to make it perfect. We want to make it perfect for the iPhone. They're gonna throw it like that. I guarantee it. But yeah, so it's going to be an alternative to the grid-based home screen on the iPhone. So I mean, it's going to be a choice that you'll have to make, but a choice nonetheless. And so it's still gonna include and take into account filters and sorting orders. So like all your games can be grouped in that scrolling list with all of like your productivity apps and things like that. So of course there's gonna be we're gonna have to wait and see till it actually comes out to see what that looks like. There's also going to be more support on the software side with iOS 14 for AR. So there's going to be updated code for like field of view sensors on iPhones. Maybe we'll get like a Samsung Galaxy AR setup where you put the phone in like a augmented reality, kind of, what I'm talking about, like the little visor on your face, something like that. People can't see that, but I was holding my phone right up to my eyes to hopefully have Ruben tell me the right word there that I was looking for. But yeah, so that's going to be built into iOS 14. Something that we don't actually have a lot of information on, but we know is in the works internally for Apple for iOS 14 is actually a slew of new messages features for iOS. So, just the people who have iPhones really rave about the messaging system. And for a good reason. It's a really cool messaging system. But they're working on reworking some of that. What exactly, we don't know. From the information that Mac Rumors gathered, it's going to be some reworking with like a Twitter like @ symbol kind of system, so you can @, someone in a group chat, and it'll notify them, just like like a Facebook Messenger or something like that. So we'll have to wait and see for that. I won't see it because I don't own an iPhone. So anyone who owns an iPhone, you're gonna have to let me know how that goes. But anyway, that's really it for the tech news this week. I know there's more important stories that I missed, but these are the ones I wanted to cover because that's the tech I want to cover, and you have to listen to it, audience. So thank you. But anyway, I'll literally hand over the mic to Ruben here to get on the game news.
Well, first up, I want to go ahead and get this out of the way because I'm tired of talking about it. But E3 has now been canceled due to the coronavirus.
Boo!
Yet another event that I was looking forward to.
Mm-hmm.
But not all is lost because they're looking into hopefully putting together an online experience instead, which I'm surprised not more have done.
Yeah, Nintendo Direct has been doing it for years.
Yeah, Nintendo Direct. I do know, too, that yesterday GDC announced that they are also going to be trying to do online shows like throughout the week it was supposed to take place.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, due to this global pandemic of corona, we have to not enjoy the live versions of E3.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, not a big loss for a lot of people because it's not like a majority of people watch them online anyway.
Right.
So as long as they're still announcing stuff and doing stuff, it's going to be nice. I do know that E3 has kind of dwindled over the years with some of the big hitters like backing out and doing their own events, such as Sony's State of Play.
Stony.
Because I was saying Sony and State of Play.
Yeah.
And then following that, due to the cancellation of E3, Microsoft is going to hold their own Xbox digital event because of this.
Which should be dope.
Yes, Phil Spencer actually put out a tweet that said, E3 has always been an important moment for Team Xbox. Given this decision, this year we'll celebrate the next generation of gaming with the Xbox community and all who love to play via an Xbox digital event. Details on timing and more in the coming weeks. With this going on, do you think, honestly, that E3 will remain, like, in, let's say, 5 or 6 years?
You know what? I was actually just thinking of that. My fear is that these companies, Xbox, Sony, Nintendo, any of the any of the gamer studios that attend E3, I'm afraid that they will get they will feel such accomplishment for getting this done on their own without the need of traveling to E3, without the need of getting hotel rooms for E3, without meeting a specific deadline for E3. I think they're gonna find it easier to just make do without E3, and they're just not gonna want to do E3 anymore because of how complicated it is compared to how it could be done if they just did it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That would really suck on the consumer end, because for us, for the customers, it's really cool to just be like, all right, I'm gonna sit down for E3 and just drown me in game news and announcements and excitement. So, I guess that's two sides, to that different coin. But I can definitely see this being treated as kind of like a pilot program for each individual company to see if they actually need an event like E3 in order to drive the business that they want to drive.
Yeah, they definitely would save a lot of money, like you said, on flights, flying out their people, rooms, like you said. Also, like, just renting out the space to hold the event.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
Per square foot at E3.
And I mean, on one side, I am disappointed because, like, it's always been kind of like a cool idea to me to be able to go to E3.
Yeah.
And if it ends up, not existing in a few years, that'll never happen.
Yeah, for sure.
But, I mean, if, like we say, if Xbox starts liking it, already Sony doesn't do it anymore because they have state of play. Nintendo, I want to say, still takes part, even though they have their Nintendo Direct. But I could be wrong on that.
Maybe. I can't answer that, to be honest, because I don't recall Nintendo participating to like the same degree that like Sony and Microsoft do.
Yeah.
For E3, because those are like they're at each other's throats.
The big hitters.
Yeah.
Let's see. And next up, sir, I actually have. Let's see here.
So just a quick Google search here. Tickets to E3 are $200.
Jeez.
To me, that seems like sort of doable.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
Like I can sacrifice for maybe 3 weeks. You know, no pizza, no Raising Cane's. You know, not buy that belt on Amazon, and then maybe I could afford E3 tickets.
Let's see.
I honestly expected it to be worse. But anyway, go on.
And then, of course, with GDC, with their streaming online, they announced that 2 key parts of the show will continue as originally scheduled. Only now, of course, they'll be online. They said, over the course of the next week, March 16th through the 20th, the GDC Twitch channel will stream a series of pre-recorded talks that were scheduled to take place at the physical conference. And the talks will be streamed for 8 hours a day from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Let's see. Understandably, though, not every talk was scheduled for GDC will be streamed online, and they don't have a finalized schedule quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. They said on Friday, March 13th, and they posted a link. This is PC Gamer. They posted a link where you can actually view the full schedule once they have it posted on Friday.
Oh, not bad.
The 13th. So, I mean, not a long time to wait for that.
Thankfully.
Yeah. And then next up, the rumors are finally confirmed. Sony confirmed Horizon Zero Dawn is coming to PC this summer.
Woo! That game's gonna look so good.
It says the long-awaited confirmation was snuck into an interview.
Snuck into an interview,
Yeah.
as if no one was gonna catch it.
It says, after months of rumors, head of Sony Worldwide Studios and former managing director of Grella Herman Holst dropped the nugget in a PlayStation blog interview. Based off the quote, it does not seem like it was snuck in there, and you're gonna laugh. It says, and I quote, "Yes, I can confirm that Horizon Zero Dawn is coming to PC this summer."
Subtle hint reveals that Horizon Zero Dawn.
And apparently now the store page for that game is actually up on Steam now too. Although they have not posted the system requirements yet.
Yeah.
Let's see. Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition is gonna be on there, and it's gonna include, of course, the game and the Frozen Wilds expansion, Karja Storm Ranger outfit and Karja Mighty Bow, Karja Trader Pack, Banuk Trailblazer outfit and Banuk Culling Bow, Banuk Traveler Pack, and Nora Keeper Pack.
Dang.
Let's see. According to Holst, Sony is open to new ideas of how to introduce more people to PlayStation, but that doesn't mean it plans to release a lot more PS4 games on PC.
Smart business decision. A little sad because I don't own a Sony console, and they do put out good games.
If they really want to pull people, they just gotta release Last of Us 2 on PC. Please.
True.
Please.
True. We'll keep our fingers crossed for that.
And then this isn't really a super big story, but it's one of my favorites, so I felt I had to share it. Mortal Kombat 4, the first Mortal Kombat to go 3D, is now available on GOG for PC.
Nice. How much? What's the price tag?
Let me see if they actually posted it. Did you ever play Mortal Kombat 4, sir?
I'm actually Googling it right now just to remind myself what it looks like, and oh my goodness.
Yeah, I want to say 3D in the way that you can actually like walk around the ring, like you could sidestep, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not the prettiest looking Mortal Kombat game, but I have played it at least once.
Dude, I remember the fatalities in there were so hard to pull off. It is $6, by the way, sir.
Oh, not bad. Everyone should pick it up.
Yeah.
Just because.
It's Mortal Kombat 4. I mean, I used to know the reptile fatality where you jump on you and eat your face.
Yeah.
And I do not know it anymore, though.
Oh, this is the one where Reptile looks like he's like...
An actual reptile?
Well, because I'm looking at this photo here, and I... Oh, shoot. Don't know how long that was happening for.
Ugh.
No!
Oh, dude, that'll be a nightmare. Oh, my God.
Oh, well, the audience is just going to have to live with that.
I'll be so mad if it was the whole episode.
Yeah. No.
There's no way.
I was keeping my eye on it for most of the episode. That literally maybe happened for a couple minutes.
Well, I was talking about Call of Duty's Battle Royale mode. It supports 150 players rather than the standard 100, and it is cross-platform as well. So you can play with PC, PS4, and Xbox.
Nice. All the console people getting whooped.
I have heard, obviously I haven't played it yet, but I don't think you can jump in solo. I think you have to be squatted up.
Oh, really? You have to be squatted up?
I believe so.
That's
believe
wild.
That's what I heard.
You ever heard of the Gulag in that game?
No.
I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. But anyway, so if that's how you pronounce it, the Gulag, you basically you go into a stadium. Well, this is after you die, by the way. So you get shot and you die in the Battle Royale. So you get put into this gladiator-style stadium with another player, and both of you have to 1v1 each other. And other dead players are the stadium spectators, and they can throw rocks.
What?
And the rocks will damage whoever they hit. You know, if you're in the 1v1, you have to kill the other person, and if you win, you'll respawn back into the game. But if you die, you become part of the stadium there, and you throw rocks at the people who
Dude,
are 1v1ing.
that's sick.
So yeah,
yeah. I want to play literally just to die.
Yeah. So my coworker at work, Kale, he wouldn't stop talking about that, and I can see why, because it's a freaking sick concept. I want to do that too. I want to throw rocks.
Based off the trailer, it does look like as well there is also vehicle support in this game mode, so it looks like you can get in helicopters, ATVs, Jeeps.
Yeah. Motorcycles, maybe.
Maybe. And also, a funny bug was actually already found where if your entire squad uses UAV at once, it reveals every enemy on the entire map.
Broken.
Which is nuts.
Nerf, please.
I would imagine it's a tad harder to get kill streaks, being that there's limited players.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it'd be really hard to get everyone on your team with UAVs.
Yeah.
But if you do, you win.
Bananas. Let's see. As for my gaming stories, that's all I have. However, I did want to talk some League of Legends stuff.
Let's do it. I know there's lots to talk about this week for sure.
First up, the teleport change. What
Yep.
do you think about it?
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, because you mentioned this to me once. But they're changing teleport to scale with champion level now.
Yes.
So at level 1, teleport is... how long?
checking it right now. I believe it is going to be 480 seconds.
480 seconds. That's
Which
like
is
what? 5 whole
8
minutes? Or
8
no
minutes.
more.
8 minutes.
Oh my gosh, 8 minutes.
It's going to have an 8-minute cooldown.
That's so not worth it.
And then once you are level 18, it's going to be cut down all the way to 4 minutes. As
Dang.
opposed to being 6 minutes every time.
Yeah. That's a long cooldown, man. I mean, late game is still going to be good. And I was telling you this before the show, too, that split pushing is going to be much more of a threat now than it ever has been.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Especially, if you have a duelist top lane, for example, like Fiora, and she dominates top lane, she just perma pushes top lane in. But if she gets ahead and she has levels ahead, if she's level 18 and the rest of the game is level 14, she's going to split push you to death, man. You can't stop that. Mm-hmm. You have to send the whole squad, and even then, they still may lose. The 1v5.
I mean, late game, you're getting an extra teleport for every 2 you used to get, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's wild. I think it's going to be a cool change to teleport. I miss the old teleport channel time. I think teleport takes a super long time to teleport now.
It does. It really does. I don't play a lot of top lane, so I don't notice it as much. But, I mean, you can definitely tell there's a difference now. Yeah. I feel like it used to be more like, almost like Shen's ultimate in terms of channel time.
Yeah.
And now it's slightly less than basing, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like it is. I don't know the numbers there for teleport, but it's been a long channel time for a long time, and I definitely still miss the old teleport where that channel time was shorter. I think it used to be like 4 seconds, and now it's like 8 seconds or something.
I think so.
I think it like doubled the time. It's something ridiculous. I'm still not used to it. That's why I hardly ever take TP anymore when I play top lane. But interesting change to teleport for sure. We'll have to wait and see how it does in pro play.
And then, speaking of pro play, sir, the standings.
Well, to no surprise, Cloud9 is still number 1, but they suffered their first loss.
To TSM.
To TSM?
The people who just lost to CLG.
Yeah. Imagine being TSM and then losing to the worst team in the league and then beating the best team. That's really weird, man.
That is weird.
And I don't know if you watched the game or not, but Cloud9 got stomped.
Really?
They got stomped pretty hard. Yeah, TSM, it wasn't oh, is TSM gonna win or is Cloud9 gonna pull back? No, it was oh, TSM's winning, C9 lost. It was really weird. It was a really weird game.
When Omar sent that message to the chat, I thought he was joking.
Yeah.
Because, I had just looked it up because I was C9's supposed to play today, and I looked it up, and it still showed that they were 12-0, so I was maybe they haven't played. And then literally 1 minute later, Omar was C9 lost to TSM.
It's what? Yeah, I think it threw everyone through a loop for sure. It was definitely a weird week in the LCS, only because TSM beat C9, but TSM also beat FlyQuest, and FlyQuest is the number 2 team in the league right now. In other words, TSM looks like they're actually doing pretty well for themselves.
They're tied for second.
So TSM is bouncing back, which is, good for them, right? Especially with the changes that they made to their roster in the off season. They expect to see results, so that's good for TSM. Equally as weird, I feel, is CLG bouncing back.
Yeah.
Ever since they got Pobelter back, they beat Team Liquid on Saturday, March 7th. Last Monday, March 2nd, they lost to Immortals. But funny enough, this last week, Immortals, not only did Immortals lose to 100 Thieves, which is one of the weaker tiebreaker teams, for 6th place in my opinion. But what was I saying here? But Immortals, right? So Immortals, not only did they lose to 100 Thieves, but they also let me find that game. I know they had a really good game. I think it was yesterday. Yes, they also beat Team Liquid on Monday Night League. So that was actually a really sad game there because it was Double Lift's first game back ever since being sick, and he was like, "Yeah, like Team Liquid had a pretty good stretch there with Tactical, their backup ADC, while Double Lift was out sick, and so Double Lift, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be back, like I'm gonna kick ass, blah 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 blah, and then they lose to Immortals.
Ugh.
Like tough luck, dude. Like that is not a good look for Double Lift, man. Because so far his track record is that he plays bad, someone replaces him, Liquid plays good, and then Double Lift comes back and they play bad again. And it was a pretty crushing defeat at the hands of Immortals on that Team Liquid game. Just to give a overall game summary of what happened, the game ended with Immortals with a 12k gold lead.
Oh my god!
The kills were 4-14. Team Liquid took no towers, obviously no inhibitors as well. Immortals took the only Baron in the game, and then Team Liquid did manage to take two dragons, but Immortals took 3.
Jeez.
As far as who you were wondering was feeding that game, it was definitely Core JJ on Nautilus. He was 0-4-2. Impact was playing top lane Zac for some reason, and he went 0-3-1. And then Jensen on Zoe went 1-4-3.
Jesus.
Now, keep in mind, Xmithy plays for Immortals. So Team Liquid replaced Xmithy with Broxa, and that was considered an upgrade, right? But Xmithy on Immortals ended up with a KD of 3-0-6 compared to Broxa's Olaf at 1-1-1. Soaz, their top laner, he ended with 2-0-5. Apollo, which is considered like a low tier ADC in the NALCS, he went 8-0-3 on Aphelios.
Jeez.
8-0-3. Yeah.
I'm surprised he wasn't banned.
So yeah, Aphelios should be. I'm not sure what the ban and pick phases were, but yeah, I definitely think Aphelios should either be outright banned or first picked for sure. But I guess Team Liquid didn't respect that, and they just let it happen. Top lane Zac really pissed me off. Not gonna lie,
Yeah,
I'm like, why the hell
that's
is
a
he
pretty
playing?
bunk pick.
Yeah, it's a ballsy pick for Team Liquid in the situation they are right now, to be honest. But I mean, they lost the game. They lost really hard, so maybe they're gonna get their head out of their butts and then kick it into gear for the rest of the split. Because we're like 3/4 of the way done with the split at this point.
Yeah, we got what? It ends April 26th. We got like 4 more weeks.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe I think 5 weeks. Because we're March 11th right now.
Yep. Actually, I can just check right here.
Let's look at a calendar, shall we?
So we got this week.
1 weekend, 2, 3, 4,
So yeah,
5.
5, 6.
Interesting stuff. But yeah, so it was a crazy week in the LCS for sure. As far as the standings go, we talked about C9. They're obviously still number 1 with a damn good record still. And my phone's not loading because I'm not on your Wi-Fi. But
we jinxed them when we said are they gonna go undefeated? They lost.
Yeah. That's what they get for doing my boys sneaky dirty like that. But anyway, so they're 13-1 in second place. So there's 2 teams tied for second, which are FlyQuest and TSM, behind a handful of games at 8-6. And then you have a couple teams tied for fourth, which are 100 Thieves and Evil Geniuses at a clean 7-7. Then you also have Immortals tied for fourth there at 7-7 as well. Golden Guardians are at 6-8, tied with Team Liquid, or actually, yeah, they're tied for Team Liquid for 6th or 5th, I believe.
Yeah.
And then you have Team Dignitas at 5-9, and then CLG at 3-11. Needless to say, CLG is not going to be making playoffs.
Dude, watch CLG pass Dignitas though at least.
Yeah, probably.
That'd be kind of sad.
Probably. I mean, Dignitas, they basically have Huni. They basically have Huni
Team Huni.
Team Huni, yeah. So that's I mean, they have Froggen too, but still, I mean, it's whatever, man. We'll let them be their own team. But yeah, so crazy week in the LCS. That's pretty much all I have to say about the LCS this week.
Have you? I know you're not a big fan of it. Have you watched like the introduction video to TFT Galaxies?
No, I saw it was posted today though. I think
It looks super sick. I think it was posted 3 days ago now, 2 or 3 days ago.
Okay, maybe I'm just super behind.
It looks so clean, like in the new maps. Oh my god. They have a new class, and this is one I'm super stoked for, and I know Madge was super stoked for, called Mechs. And if you get 3 of them, at the beginning of every round, they combine into a giant super mech. And fight as one.
Jeez.
And it looks super dope.
Okay, so it's like the mech skins of normal champions, right? So like
Yeah.
Mecha Kha'Zix, Mecha Malphite. I don't know what the roster is in TFT, but I imagine it's just the Mecha line of skins.
Yeah, it's mechs, and then of course like the Dark Stars and Star Guardians.
Oh, really? They're also included in the mechs?
Yeah, they're included. Well, yeah, they're calling it Galaxies, so I know they're all in there as well.
Okay.
So
So
they're
like
gonna
as
have,
their
like-
own classes, though.
Yeah.
So like Dark Star Thresh is not going to be a mech.
No.
Okay, that's what I was
okay.
wondering. I was like, what the?
No.
Okay, cool. But that makes sense. Star Guardians and Dark Stars being their own class. Are they going to morph together too, or do they have their own group buff that's different? From
They
that?
have their own group buff. I believe Star Guardians basically help give other Star Guardians more mana. So, like, if you have mages which already, give your whole team more mana, and Star Guardians, it's a even bigger boost.
Lux ulting 17 times
Yeah.
in one turn.
It's going to be pretty ridiculous. That is, of course, in the next patch. What is that, 10.6?
I think so, yeah.
But that is all I have, sir.
Okay, cool. I'm totally fine with cutting the podcast short today a little bit. We're just 3 minutes shy of an hour, but
To make up for all of our 20-minute overages.
yeah, no kidding, no kidding. Jeez, we've been doing that for like the last couple episodes, going like 20 minutes over, but it's okay. Jinx. But yeah, so yeah, let's go ahead and I guess end the episode here.
Play the outro music.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We will see you next week.
Woo woo.